There is a biological reason why you haven't manifested the money yet. It's not because you aren't spiritual enough. It's not because you don't want it enough. It is because your nervous system views wealth as a threat. You might consciously want the money. You affirm for it. You visualize it. You beg for it. But the moment you get close to the feeling of having it, your body slams on the brakes. Your heart races. Your chest tightens. You feel a sudden wave of anxiety or numbness. Why? Because to a nervous system wired for survival, big change equals big danger, even if the change is positive. Today, I am going to show you exactly how this biological rejection happens in your daily life. We are going to track two people through the same day. One is fighting their own biology, the practitioner. The other has hacked their nervous system to accept wealth as safe, the occupant. If you watch this video to the end, you will understand why your body has been rejecting your desire and exactly how to reprogram it to stop hating the money you want. Today, we are going to do something different. We are going to strip away the filter. I am going to show you the invisible reality of what living in the end actually looks like, hour by hour. We are going to follow two different people through the exact same day. The first person is the practitioner. This is the person who knows all the techniques, reads all the books and tries very, very hard to make things happen. The practitioner is performing the state. The second person is Gao, the occupant. This is the person who has actually moved into the state. They aren't trying to get anything. They are simply living from the identity of having it. The difference between them is not spiritual, it is biological. The practitioner is operating in sympathetic mode, fight or flight. They are trying to manifest while their body is screaming danger. The occupant is operating in parasympathetic mode, rest and digest. They have taught their body that wealth is safe. Let's see how this plays out, hour by hour. They will face the exact same challenges. They will wake up in the same bed. They will deal with the same problems, but their internal worlds will be completely different. And by the end of this comparison, you will realize that you have been working far too hard for far too little result. You will see that the difference between struggling and manifesting isn't about what you do with your hands. It is about where you stand in your mind. Let's begin. 7 a.m. The wake up. The alarm goes off. It's a Tuesday. It's raining. The body is heavy. Here is the practitioner. The practitioner opens their eyes, and the very first thing they do is a reality scan. Before they even sit up, their mind rushes out to check the perimeter. Do I feel it? Do I feel wealthy today? Do I feel loved? Is the text message there? Has the bank account changed? They grab their phone with a tight chest. They check notifications. Nothing. Immediate contraction. The heart sinks. The stomach tightens. It's not here yet, they think. Another day of lack. But then, the practitioner remembers they are supposed to be living in the end. So, panic sets in. They start to scramble mentally. No, cancel that thought. I am wealthy. I need to fix my vibration. I need to do my morning rampages. If I don't fix this feeling right now, I will ruin the whole day. They drag themselves out of bed, already exhausted. They start forcing affirmations while brushing their teeth. They are frantically trying to paste a layer of positive thinking over a core of terror. To the practitioner, the morning is a battleground. They are fighting reality before they have even had coffee. Now let's look at the occupant. Its answer. The alarm goes off. Same Tuesday, same rain, same heavy body. The occupant opens their eyes. They do not scan reality. Why? Because you do not check for things you already have. If you have legs, you don't wake up and check if your legs are still there. You just stand up. The occupant wakes up from the state, not looking for the state. They might feel tired. They might feel groggy. They might think, I don't want to go to work today. But here is the difference. Underneath the grogginess, there is a silent, solid ground. They know who they are. If they are manifesting wealth, they wake up as a wealthy person who happens to be tired. If they are manifesting love, they wake up as a loved person who happens to be sleepy. They don't grab their phone to check for the text. They grab their phone to check the weather. There is no panic. There is no desperate attempt to get into state, because the state is not a mood. The state is an identity. The occupant gets out of bed and brushes their teeth. They are not affirming. They are thinking about breakfast or the meeting they have later. They are natural, and this naturalness is the technique. The practitioner thinks the work is to force a feeling of excitement, The occupant knows the work is the absence of anxiety. The practitioner is asking, "Is it here yet?" The occupant is answering, "It never left." This first hour of the day sets the frequency for everything that follows. The practitioner has already signaled to their subconscious mind, "I do not have it, and I am terrified." The occupant has signaled, "I am it, and it is normal, but the day is just beginning." And the 3D world is about to test them both. 10 a.m., the 3D trigger. Life happens. You cannot manifest in a bubble. The 3D world, the world of shadows, the world of past manifestations, is still playing out around you. And at 10 a.m. something goes wrong. Let's say it's a bill, an unexpected large bill that arrives via email. Or maybe it's a photo of the specific person looking happy with someone else, or a rude comment from a boss. Let's use the bill. A notification pops up, payment due, $500, overdue. Here is the practitioner. They see the notification. Their heart stops. The blood drains from their face. The amygdala in their brain hijacks the system. It sees the bill not as a piece of paper, but as a predator. Cortisol floods the bloodstream. Logic shuts down. Survival takes over. The practitioner isn't just worried. They are in a biological state of emergency. The first thought is about the law. I failed, this proves it. If I was really living in the end, this wouldn't be here. I did something wrong. I didn't believe enough. I had that negative thought yesterday, and now I manifested this disaster. The practitioner identifies with the event. The bill is not just a bill. The bill is a verdict. It is a judge slamming a gavel and shouting, "You are a fraud." So, the practitioner goes into emergency mode. They run to the bathroom to hide. They close their eyes. They start visualizing a pile of cash. They are shaking. They are trying to use the imagination as a shield to block out reality. This isn't real. This isn't real. I have millions. But they are saying it with the energy of a drowning person screaming for a life raft. They are fighting the 3D. They are arguing with the shadow. And by fighting it, they are giving it life. They are feeding the monster with their own fear. They are validating that the bill has power over them. Now watch. The occupant. The notification pops up. Payment due, $500, overdue. The occupant sees it. Do they smile? No. Do they say, "Thank you, universe"? No. That is toxic positivity. The occupant feels a momentary spike of annoyance, maybe even a little stress. Damn, I forgot about that. They are human. But then, the shift happens. The occupant engages what I call double exposure. In photography, double exposure is when you take two images and lay them on top of each other. You can see both at the same time. The occupant sees the bill, image A, but they view it through the lens of their new identity, image B. They do not say, "I failed." They say, "I will handle this," from who I am now. The occupant knows that this bill is just an echo of the past. It is old data. It is the dead skin of a previous version of themselves shedding off. They do not collapse, they do not lose their name. They pay the bill, or they make a plan to pay it. But they do it with the internal posture of a millionaire who is simply cleaning up a mess. They do not give the bill authority. This is the key word, authority. The practitioner gives the 3D world authority over their internal state. If the 3D is bad, I must feel bad. If the 3D is good, I can feel good. The occupant keeps authority within. I am wealthy. The 3D is currently rearranging itself to match me. This bill is just a piece of furniture being moved during the renovation. The occupant pays the bill and goes back to work. There is no bathroom breakdown. There is no frantic visualization. There is just business as usual. Because to the wealthy, a bill is just a transaction. It is not an identity crisis. To the loved, a lonely moment is just a quiet evening. It is not proof of abandonment. The difference isn't that the occupant ignores reality. The difference is that the occupant doesn't let reality define them. This double exposure technique, being in the world but not of it, is the hallmark of mastery. The practitioner tries to erase the world. The occupant overwrites it. And as the day moves into the afternoon, the gap between them widens, because now comes the most dangerous part of the day, the part where nothing is happening, the mundane, the boring, the routine. Most people can handle a crisis, but very few people know how to handle the boredom of the middle of the day without falling out of state. 2 p.m., the invisible routine. The adrenaline of the morning crisis has faded. The coffee has worn off. Now you are just existing. It is 2 p.m. You are sitting at a desk you hate, or you are stuck in traffic that isn't moving, or you are folding laundry that never seems to end. This is the part of the day that no spiritual teacher talks about. They talk about the morning meditation. They talk about the evening visualization, but they ignore the 10 hours in between. And yet, this is where the state is either solidified or destroyed. Let's look at the practitioner. For the practitioner, the hours between 9 a.m. and 5 p.m. are a prison. They view their 3D reality, their job, their chores, their obligations, as an obstacle. They see it as the enemy of their manifestation. Inside their head, a constant loop of resentment is playing. I shouldn't be here, they think. I am a millionaire. Why am I answering this phone? Why am I listening to this boss? They feel a deep, grinding friction between where they are physically and where they want to be mentally. And because they resent the present moment, they check out, they dissociate. They go into what I call the waiting room. The waiting room is a psychological state where you pause your life until the manifestation arrives. You stop enjoying your coffee. You stop laughing with your co-workers. You stop looking at the sky, you just wait. You scroll through social media, looking for success stories to give you a dopamine hit. You listen to lectures on 2x speed, trying to consume enough truth to drown out the noise of your reality. But you aren't actually applying anything. You are numbing yourself. The practitioner believes that ignoring reality means hating reality. And so, for 8 hours a day, they vibrate at the frequency of, "Get me out of here." And the universe responds with, "Okay, here is more wanting to leave." Now, let's shift the camera. Let's look at the occupant. The occupant is sitting at the same desk. They are stuck in the same traffic, but they are not in the waiting room. They are in the studio. The occupant understands a profound secret of Neville Goddard's teaching, inner talking. Neville said that our inner conversations are the breeding ground of our future. The occupant uses the mundane, boring parts of the day to rewrite the script, but they don't do it with force. They do it with a sense of secret amusement. They play a game I call the glitch. While the occupant is driving their old car, they are physically handling the wheel, but internally they are having a conversation that implies they are driving something else. They might say to an imaginary passenger, "Yeah, the suspension on this new model is incredible, isn't it?" They feel the leather of the new steering wheel in their imagination, superimposed over the plastic of the old one. They are not doing this to make it happen. They aren't squeezing their eyes shut and endangering traffic. They are doing it because it changes how they feel right now. It turns the boring commute into a scene. When the occupant is at the grocery store, buying the cheap brand of pasta because that's what the budget allows, they don't feel shame. The practitioner feels shame. The practitioner thinks, "This proves I'm poor." The occupant thinks, "I remember when I used to buy this brand. It's actually nostalgic." Do you see the shift? The occupant frames the current reality as a memory. They look at their current struggle not as a prison, but as a biography they have already written. They are looking back at the hard times from the perspective of the success that has already happened. This removes the resistance. The occupant is present in the moment. They are polite to the cashier. They do their job well, but their internal context has shifted. They are God washing the dishes. They are God answering emails. They don't need to escape the 3D because the 3D has lost its power to hurt them. This ability to overlay the new reality onto the old one, without anger, without resentment, is what creates momentum. The practitioner stops manifesting for 8 hours a day. The occupant manifests for 16 hours a day, simply by changing the narration of their boring moments. But then the workday ends, and we enter the phase where most people completely collapse. 6 p.m., the disconnect. You get home. The keys hit the table. The shoes come off. You are tired. Your brain is fried. Here is the practitioner. For the practitioner, coming home doesn't mean rest. It means the start of the second shift. Okay, they think. I survived the day. Now I have to do the work. Now I have to manifest. They feel guilty if they just want to sit on the couch. They feel guilty if they want to watch Netflix. They feel guilty if they are too tired to visualize. If I don't do my sats tonight, I'll lose momentum. If I watch this TV show, I'm distracting myself from my desire. So they force it. They sit in a chair, exhausted, and try to visualize. But their brain is foggy. They can't focus. They get frustrated. Why can't I see it clearly? Am I blocked? Manifestation becomes a chore. It becomes another item on the to-do list right after do laundry and pay bills. And because it is a chore, the nervous system begins to resent the desire. Listen to me. If you resent the process of manifesting your desire, you will push the desire away, because your body wants to avoid pain. The practitioner lives in a state of constant spiritual performance. They never clock out. Now, look at the occupant. The occupant walks in the door, keys on the table, shoes off. They are tired. So what do? They rest. They order a pizza. They turn on Netflix. They laugh at a comedy. They play with their dog. They do not rush to do techniques. Why? Because a wealthy person is allowed to be tired. Because a loved person is allowed to watch a movie. Because a healthy person is allowed to eat pizza. The occupant understands that the state is an identity, not an activity. You do not stop being a doctor when you go to sleep. You do not stop being a parent when you watch a movie. You do not stop being you just because you aren't thinking about it. So, you do not stop being the wish fulfilled just because you are resting. In fact, resting in the state is one of the most powerful things you can do. When the occupant sits on the couch, they are sitting there as the person who has it all. There is a subtle background satisfaction. They aren't visualizing a scene. They are just enjoying the relief of the day being over. And that relief, that deep exhale, that is the Sabbath. The Sabbath is not a mystical trance. The Sabbath is the ability to relax without guilt. The practitioner thinks, I need to work to get it. The occupant thinks, I have it so I can rest. This evening downtime is crucial. It is where the nervous system switches from sympathetic, fight or flight, to parasympathetic, rest and digest. And guess what? Your subconscious mind accepts new programming much faster when you are in parasympathetic mode. When you are relaxed, laughing at a show, eating good food, your guard is down. The wall is down. The occupant manifests while watching Netflix simply because their underlying assumption is, life is good, I am safe, it is done. The practitioner blocks their manifestation while doing 2 hours of forced visualization because their underlying assumption is, I am running out of time, I need to fix this. Rest is not the enemy of manifestation, effort is. And this brings us to the final, most intimate moment of the day, the moment where the conscious mind shuts down and the subconscious takes the wheel. 10:00 p.m., the intimacy of sleep. The lights are out, the house is quiet, you are in bed. Neville Goddard called this the state akin to sleep. Esatz. He taught that this is the most creative time of the day, but for most people it is the most terrifying. Here is the practitioner. The practitioner lies in bed and the pressure spikes. Okay, this is it. I have to get this right. If I fall asleep thinking the wrong thing, I ruin everything. They start to visualize a scene, but their mind wanders. They start thinking about the bill from earlier. They start thinking about the lonely text messages. They jerk themselves back. No, focus. Loop the scene, loop the scene. Their heart rate increases. They are trying to control their mind into submission. It feels like they are trying to thread a needle while riding a roller coaster. They get anxious about being anxious. I can't sleep. If I don't sleep in the state, it won't work. Insomnia sets in. They lie there for hours, wrestling with their own thoughts. Eventually, they pass out from sheer exhaustion, usually in a state of frustration or despair. The last thought on their mind before sleep is, I can't do this. And the subconscious mind says, okay, we can't do this. The practitioner has turned the bedroom into a courtroom. Now, enter the occupant. The occupant gets into bed. They feel the sheets. They feel the pillow. It feels good. They do not try to force a visual scene. Instead, they focus on intimacy. The occupant treats the desire not as a goal to be achieved, but as a lover who is already in bed with them. Imagine sleeping next to someone you love deeply. You don't need to stare at them. You don't need to repeat their name over and over. You just feel their warmth. You know they are there. That is how the occupant relates to their wish. They curl up in bed and whisper a simple phrase, not an affirmation, a confirmation. Thank you. Isn't it wonderful? I love this life. They let themselves feel the relief of the wish fulfilled. If a negative thought comes up, they don't fight it. They just treat it like a passing car outside the window. Just noise. They bring their attention back to the feeling of the ring on their finger. imaginary but real in sensation, or the feeling of the partner's arm, or the feeling of the security of a full bank account, but they do it softly. They aren't trying to imprint the subconscious. They are just enjoying the feeling. They are cuddling with their manifestation, and because there is no pressure, they drift off easily. They fall asleep in the feeling of satisfaction, and as they sleep, the subconscious mind goes to work, not because it was forced, but because it was seduced. The practitioner tries to rape the subconscious mind with force. The occupant seduces the subconscious mind with gentleness, and the result is waking up the next morning not with panic, but with peace. This cycle, the occupant's cycle, creates an upward spiral. Safety creates trust. Trust creates naturalness. Naturalness creates manifestation. The practitioner's cycle creates a downward spiral. Pressure creates fear. Fear creates effort. Effort creates burnout. So, look at your day. Look at your last 24 hours. Where were you acting like the practitioner? Where were you waiting? Where were you forcing? Where were you performing? And where can you invite the occupant in? It doesn't require more time. You saw that. Both of them had the same 24 hours. Both of them had the same problems. The difference was not in the timeline. The difference was in the touch. The practitioner touches life with a closed fist, trying to control. The occupant touches life with an open hand, allowing it to be. But I know what you are thinking. Tiepo, this makes sense intellectually. I understand it. But my body is addicted to the stress. I try to be the occupant, but my chest is tight. My stomach is in knots. I physically cannot relax. This is the final barrier. It is not a mental block. It is a biological lock. And to pick that lock, we need to understand the science of safety. Because you cannot be the occupant if your nervous system thinks you are being hunted. We have talked about the mind. We have talked about the routine. But we have not talked about the wire that connects your brain to your body. Because here is the brutal truth that almost no spiritual teacher will tell you. You can visualize all day long. You can affirm until your voice is gone. You can script until your hand cramps. But if your nervous system views your desire as a threat, it will reject it every single time. This is why the practitioner fails. The practitioner is trying to install a software of peace and wealth onto a hardware that is running survival and danger. Let's look at the science of this. It is simple, but it changes everything. Your nervous system has two main modes. Mode A is the sympathetic state. This is fight or flight. This is the mode of survival. In this mode, your body is looking for predators. It is scanning for danger. It is tight. It is fast. It is aggressive. Mode B is the parasympathetic state. This is rest and digest. This is the mode of safety. In this mode, your body heals, it creates, it connects, it receives. Here is the problem. Most of you are trying to manifest from mode A. You are affirming for money, but your body is in fight or flight. You are visualizing love, but your heart is racing with adrenaline. You are sending a mixed signal that confuses the universe and collapses the wave function. You are screaming, I am wealthy, while your biology is screaming, we are in danger. And biology always wins. Why? Because your body's job is not to make you rich. Your body's job is to keep you alive. And to a primitive nervous system, change equals danger, even positive change. If you have been struggling financially for 10 years, your body has adapted to that struggle. It knows how to survive the struggle. The struggle is familiar. The struggle is safe. Sudden wealth, that is the unknown. Sudden love, that is vulnerability. So when you start to live in the end, your body hits the panic button. It floods you with cortisol to force you back to the old familiar state. This is what you call self-sabotage. But it is not sabotage. It is a misguided protection mechanism. Your body is saying, don't go there. We don't have a map for that territory. Come back to the anxiety. We know the anxiety. The anxiety is home. This is why you feel the wall. The wall is your nervous system defending its comfort zone. And the practitioner tries to smash through this wall with willpower. They try to force the body to submit, but you cannot fight your own biology. The harder you fight, the more it resists. The occupant does something different. The occupant doesn't fight the body. The occupant regulates the body. The occupant understands that you cannot manifest a new reality until your body feels safe enough to enter it. So, before they visualize, they regulate. Before they affirm, they soften. They speak the language of the body. I am safe. It is okay to let go. I can hold this new reality without dying. They treat their nervous system like a scared animal. You don't scream at a scared animal. You don't hit it. You move slowly. You speak softly. You earn its trust. This is the missing link. Neville said feeling is the secret, but he didn't mean emotional excitement. He meant visceral safety. The feeling of the wish fulfilled is not a high-energy explosion. It is a low-frequency settle. It is the feeling of a nervous system that has finally exhaled. Think of your desire as electricity. Wealth is high voltage. Fame is high voltage. Deep love is high voltage. If you try to run high voltage through a nervous system that is wired for low voltage, scarcity, fear, hiding, what happens? You blow a fuse. You get sick. You get anxious. You burn out. Or you manifest the money and immediately lose it because your system literally cannot hold the charge. The practitioner is trying to hook up a nuclear reactor to a toaster. The occupant spends their time upgrading the wiring. They build the capacity to hold the good. They practice feeling good for small moments, just to teach the body that it's safe. They practice receiving small compliments, just to teach the body it doesn't need to deflect. They are slowly, gently increasing their voltage capacity. So when the manifestation arrives, they don't blow a fuse, they light up the city. This is the difference between getting and being. Getting is an event. Being is a biological capacity. You are not waiting for the money to arrive so you can feel safe. You are practicing safety so the money has a place to land. So let's look at our timeline one last time. We have seen the practitioner, waking up in panic, fighting the 3D, living in the waiting room, treating SATs like a courtroom, fighting their own biology. And we have seen the occupant, waking up in identity, overlaying the 3D, using the boredom as a studio, sleeping in intimacy, regulating their body into safety. The practitioner is exhausted. The occupant is energized. The practitioner is chasing. The occupant is magnetized. The choice is yours. You have the same 24 hours tomorrow. You can wake up and check the phone. You can scan for lack. You can fight the day. Or you can wake up and decide that the 3D is just a shadow. You can decide that your coffee is the coffee of a wealthy person, that your commute is the commute of a loved person, that your boredom is the boredom of a successful person. You can stop performing for a God outside of you and start resting in the God inside of you. You can stop doing the law and start being the law. It is scary to let go of the struggle. Struggle feels like work. Struggle feels like you are earning it. Rest requires courage. It requires the courage to trust that you are powerful enough to receive without fighting. But I promise you this, the moment you stop trying to prove you have it is the moment you realize you always did. Now, I want to speak to a specific group of you. I know that for some of you, everything I just said resonated deeply, but you feel stuck. You understand the concept of the occupant. You want to be the occupant, but you feel that your biological lock is rusted shut. You have lived in survival mode for so long, maybe since childhood, that safety feels impossible. Every time you try to relax, your body jolts you awake. Every time you try to trust, your stomach turns. This is not your fault. This is trauma stored in the nervous system. And sometimes you cannot think your way out of a body problem. You need a physical key to unlock a physical door. If you recognized yourself in the practitioner, if you feel that no matter how much you affirm, your body still rejects the state, then you don't need another visualization technique. You need to fix the wiring. You need to teach your nervous system to stop hating money and start feeling safe with it. I have pinned a resource in the top comment. It is not a magic pill, it is a protocol. Check it if you feel called. Ignore it if you don't. But whatever you do, stop practicing. Start occupying, because the house is already yours. You just need to unlock the door and sleep in the bed. Welcome home.